Pedí cilantro, no pinche perejil, hijo de la chingada. Ahorita mismo que me largas a la tienda y lo cambias, pero ya. Si no, a ver qué vas a tragar mañana. Te pedí cilantro, no pinche perejil.
I promise you, if I didn't have...
Fuck, bro. Holy shit. I just got fucking shit. Oh shit. Holy shit, bro. This motherfucker will be in the vents. What the fuck? Bro. Holy shit, bro.
Iran and you're doing this Hail Mary, oh, we assassinated all of your top generals, a few of your top nuclear scientists, a few of your top officials. Now you need to come make a deal under pressure. But you can only imagine the response that Iran wants to have. I mean, if this were to work, so I mean, but what is the deal? I'm sure the deal is absolutely zero nuclear enrichment, and that's what the United States and Israel have wanted. Israel, you could argue, doesn't even want that. They just want to weaken Iran via warfare. And that's why they originally 2 months ago wanted to do the exact same thing in terms of what they're doing right now. But the administration, the Trump administration, said, no, we want to explore diplomacy. And these things take a while to work out in terms of some type of nuclear deal. They're very complicated. The Obama one took a while. This one was taking a certain amount. I mean, they were in fifth, sixth round of talks, months into it. I know people were saying, well, Trump had given Iran 2 months, and he had said, you need to come to an agreement with us. It's another pressure tactic by Trump within the next 2 months, and that was exactly 2 months ago. I think that's more so a coincidence, honestly. Trump has these timelines. I mean, he threatened Hamas multiple times with the hostage situation, and nothing came of it. I think he just puts these deadlines out to try and pressure countries into action. It would be, in this case, the Iranians to agree to a nuclear deal. But the thought here is that there will be retaliation from Iran. The question is, how devastating will it be to Israel? And then Israel trying to get the United States into this war, saying we need help because we've just been hit. And that becomes a bigger issue. And you also have, what does Israel really want? Do they want the nuclear facilities offline, or do they want a regime change? I'm guessing they probably want both. And so, if you're Trump, I mean, just analyzing this statement from him, the United States makes the best and most lethal military equipment anywhere in the world by far, and Israel has a lot of it, with much more to come. So, I mean, there's a endorsement of Israel, and you could say, well, this is because he's trying to get Iran under pressure to agree to a deal that the United States wants. But you would think there would be a much different reaction from Trump if there was actual negotiations and there was a meeting coming up on Sunday that potentially could lead to a deal, and Israel did this that completely thwarted. I mean, there was obvious seemingly coordination here from Israel and the United States, to where Israel was going to strike, the United States was going to be more of a support role. Rubio came out yesterday and said it's unilateral, but you would think Trump would be a bit more angry with Israel today in a statement if it actually was a situation to where the United States was trying to negotiate, so much so to where they've got more talks on Sunday, and 3 days before the talks, Israel strikes Iran, which completely thwarts the entire idea of diplomacy. But maybe they're like, well, it's not going to happen. Trump had said a few days ago something changed with Iran. My guess is it just comes down to the uranium enrichment level, and the United States and Israel demanding it be at zero, and Iran wanting the Obama level enrichment, which was like 3.67%. But I mean, whether or not there was any enrichment, Israel always wanted to strike Iran, especially right now with the weak proxies. So this is the problem with Middle Eastern conflicts. It's like, what happens now? Is there going to be more funding? I mean, this is not going to be good for Trump. It's just not. Now, you can say, if you're someone who supports Israel, this is like a boomer thing. I mean, it's the vast majority of people do not want this. The vast majority of independents do not want this. This is still salvageable, I think. But honestly, I don't know. It depends on the response from Iran. And if the response from Iran is so great, Israel will demand U.S. support. And Trump is coming out in this statement and saying they're going to be getting a lot more of our equipment. Now, you could say, well, this is the pressure tactic to try and get them to agree to a nuclear deal that the United States wants. And I understand that. But it seems like there was coordination. It seemed like there was a certain deal the United States wanted from Iran. It was not going to happen. They were not going to agree to 0% enrichment or no enrichment. And the United States said, we have to try and pressure them. Israel had always been wanting to strike. There was coordination between Waltz within the administration and Netanyahu. That's why Waltz was reassigned. And so Trump said, well, that's an option to where we can have them strike and then come out and say, now you need to agree to this or it's only going to get worse, to put even more pressure on Iran. So maybe that's where we're at in terms of this. But the genie is kind of out at this point, because you can only imagine what Iran agreeing to some type. I mean, it depends on how depleted their military is in terms of the officials that were killed in these strikes. And I mean, in compared to Israel, they are a much bigger country in terms of overall manpower. So this is a conflict that a lot of us do not want. And these are just more morning reports I'm seeing. Israeli officials say Trump approved of the Iran attack. We had a clear U.S. green light. And yeah, if you're Israel, you kind of need support. I mean, if you're striking Iran without Trump giving you the go-ahead, you're really pushing it. You're really pushing it. Reports of Trump restraining Israel were planted to deceive, while Trump and Netanyahu. Oh my God. No, that's not a great update. Israel tricked the top commanders of Iran's Air Force into a meeting and then kept them there. Yeah, they lulled Iran to sleep, and it said that they were trying to make it seem like there wasn't an immediate attack. So they caught Iran off guard. That Axios report is terrible, by the way. That's just
I told her to give me munchies.
I don't know if they're talking about this, that's been going on for months, or if that's just this past week or so. Well, Trump did say 2 days ago, they asked him, he was getting into he was going to some event, he had like a tuxedo on. They asked him, he said, you're just going to have to wait and see in regards to, what the United States was, or what Israel was going to do, and what the United States was going to do in regards to Iran. I don't know, man. I mean, listen, this is, it's developing. It's hard to, it's hard to know what really happens, but we just don't know the Iran response. But it seems like this is the United States here is they're gonna be involved in a way to help Israel. At least that's what it reads. If this is Trump and Netanyahu coordinated the attack in private. I don't know how accurate Axios is. You gotta wonder. I don't know, man. I mean, it's hard to really. It's just not. No new wars. I mean, you want to pressure them. I understand. Well, it's a pressure tactic, but you got to know there's going to be a response. You would figure from Iran. I mean, that was an extensive, not only against the nuclear facilities, but targeting 8 or 9 officials, nuclear scientists, presumably in their homes. You don't think there's going to be a response from Iran? You think they're just going to back down and agree to some horrible nuclear deal? I mean, we weren't born yesterday. So there's going to be a response, and then, this reads like the United States is just full-fledged going to help Israel with this. I mean, look, I don't know in terms of Trump and the trepidation and any of that. It's hard to really. I mean, maybe Trump is still exploring some form of diplomacy. That's why he put out that statement. It seems like he wants Iran to agree to something before there's more death. I mean, I want to hear Trump actually talk. I'm not trying to cope. I just want to hear what he has to say, like for real. Because you go off the cuff now. This is all scripted. It's all I mean, we'll have to see. But either way, guys, that's just the recent updates. Make sure you like the video down below. Also follow me on X. Links to that's always in the description. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to go over some articles in the wake of the Israeli military strikes on Iran and a potential Iranian response here today. Iran reportedly preparing to launch 100 ballistic missiles on Israel. Before I talk about this, and they said only about 7 of them hit, with the Iron Dome neutralizing many of the Iranian missiles. Apparently yesterday, it gets reported, they say it's devastating, it's these attacks. You don't really know, it's fog of war, but today they're saying that the Israeli attacks on Iran were extremely successful. So much so to where people are questioning Iranian defense systems and the preparedness that they were not for these Israeli strikes. And it wasn't just the nuclear facilities, it was also the targeted strikes where you can see in photos the side of an apartment building blown open, just one room completely destroyed. I'm guessing Palantir probably had some help with that in terms of the technology behind these precision strikes that have targeted their top officials, their top nuclear scientists, and they had a phone call Iran did with Trump earlier today. Now, we can do the optimistic approach when it comes to where we're potentially headed with Iran and whatever the response ends up being. We've seen in the past it's been subdued relative to what Israel's done, but now this is a major escalation by Israel, so will this call for a significant Iranian response? We can also take a look at the Russia aspect of it. Russia, with Iran, was looking to possibly broker negotiations with the United States and with Iran to formulate some type of nuclear deal. Trump has long said he maintains the same position. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Well, what does that mean? We got to dissect what Trump means. Can they not have any nuclear enrichment, even a civil level of the 3.67%? I believe that's what Trump means, because he was saying that about a week ago in terms of they get zero enrichment at all. They can't even have nuclear energy. And my guess is that was what the administration wants, and Iran didn't agree to that, and they were never going to agree to that. And so you could argue that, and it's been reported by Axios, some people are saying, no, it's not true. If you look at the Rubio statement yesterday, it contradicts what Axios reported. But this has been happening. I don't think this goes back months, because there was the big article that came out a few months ago by New York Times talking about the administration saying, well, no, Netanyahu, you're not going to strike. We're going to try and come to an agreement, because Netanyahu wanted to do joint strikes with the United States in a similar case to this, although in this case, to be clear, this is not joint. This is all Israel, but Trump knew about it. And it seems like other countries within Europe knew about it because of distress signals and maritime reports that warned ships in certain areas that this attack was coming. So you could see Iran launching 100 ballistic missiles. The question is, what is the response from Iran? And does that cause Israel to counter that with their own response? They do the preemptive strikes, is what they call them. Then Iran responds with something. Will the response from the Iranians be enough to send Israel into a crisis, potentially call Israel to have the United States help them? Trump came out with a statement earlier today saying that, well, we're going to help Israel. They have a lot of our weaponry, and they're going to be getting a lot more. That was a Truth Social statement. That was really Trump's first statement. He released at around 5:50 this morning on Truth Social. So the optimistic view of this could be Iran in the past tends to not respond with over-aggressiveness. And so if there isn't that much of a response, if the Iron Dome holds, we could be looking at a weaker Iran to where they're forced to negotiate and agree to zero enrichment. And this is the other issue, though, is the Israel demands, to where there are people that are saying, and if you look at some of the intel, it's possible they may want to completely topple their government. And they've already taken out several of their top officials and government leaders. Their top leader says, we must have a strong response to the evil, despicable, terrorist, Zionist identity. God willing, we will respond with strength and show no mercy to them. That's their top leader in Iran. And so we've also got this. This is just a photo of it, the precision strikes that presumably killed one of their top nuclear scientists or one of their top political figures within Iran. And we also have several of these articles I want to talk about. This is 5 questions about what comes next. To what extent did the U.S. assist Israel? Trump publicly distanced himself from Israel's rapid lead up to the unprecedented strikes. But that's being told as like, oh, it was done on purpose. That's what Axios reported. They said it was to the public and for the Iranians to believe that Trump says, no, it's not going to happen. Now, we thought, I mean, to a degree, my question is, how far back does this go if it is true? Hopefully not very far, but I mean, imagine if this was like a 3-month thing. This is insane for them to be supposedly, at least in the public light, at odds with Netanyahu, but behind the scenes they're planning this so the Iranians aren't ready. And like I said earlier, this was an extremely successful, just from a neutral perspective, they're reporting extremely successful operation in terms of the Israelis striking what they wanted to strike and not being intercepted, not being interrupted by the Iranian air defense. And so part of that, and it was also reported that Israel wanted to have meetings with Iran to lull them to sleep even more. And so Trump, what extent did the U.S. have? You know, Trump wants to portray to the American people, and because there has to be some self-awareness here to realize that there's this whole idea of no new wars. Technically, right now, you don't classify this as a war. I want to see what the Iranian response is to see how far this escalates. But there have been strikes in the past, not to this level, not to this extent, where they're targeting opposing leaders, which will ratchet up the response you would think from Iran, which is why people are treating this differently from the targeted operations in 2024, 2 of them in specific. And the question is, how much does this escalate with an Iranian response? Does that cause Israel to demand help from the United States? Trump has tweeted out that, well, or he's True Social, that we will help Israel with more weapons, significantly more. And is that a negotiating ploy by Trump to try and back Iran into a corner and basically call their bluff and say, you're not going to respond with a strike? Because there's like, when you're talking about the Iranian military and their army, a lot of people say they're weak and they're disheveled and they're unorganized, but to what extent? Because you would think they would still be capable of depending on their allies, depending on what Russia does, they would still be capable of having an extended war with Israel, with the United States very likely helping Israel. What will the scale and scope of Iran's retaliation look like? Very, very important to deciding what happens after that. Because if it's a significant escalation by Iran after the Israel strikes, Israel is going to call on the United States for a counter to that. And then that's when you get some real bad regional war action and extendedly longer war within the Middle East. Will Trump resist mission creep? Even if the U.S. didn't assist Israel, Iran shares this view. The American military assets aren't targeted in its retaliation, and that's why they evacuated the military assets, or the military people and the diplomats, because they're in areas that would be closer for the Iranians to strike. And you have Rubio coming out yesterday and saying, do not strike. Do not strike our bases, because could you imagine that? And then it's like the administration's like, well, now we're forced to enter. Because right now, the vast majority of the American people want this neutral approach. Now, if you look into the situation, it's really not neutral. We are helping Israel. I mean, that's the reality of it. And I've had people that they say, and they refute it, and they say, just because we fund them, that doesn't mean we're part of this war. Well, you look at the top funders of Israel, I mean, of course, the Middle Eastern countries, if Iran goes to war with Israel, they're also going to, by extension, blame the United States for sure. I mean, what do you think Russia and Ukraine is, with Ukraine having, in some cases, better military technology than Russia? Do you think that's because of Ukraine's buildup? No, it's because NATO is giving them a lot of their arms. Trump might still get dragged into the conflict if the deep state convinces him to authorize air defense support of Israel and into more joint offensive operations. I mean, I feel like they already have the air defense. It was reported that the U.S. and the U.K. were shooting down Iranian missiles last night. I don't know if that's false, but yeah, Trump could be definitely risk Trump splitting up the base if this goes through and it is an extended military situation within the Middle East. Why couldn't Iran better defend itself? That's another question, because these strikes were extremely successful. Initial reports suggest that Israel really did indeed hit Iran very hard. That's raising questions about Iran's air defense systems. What comes next if a major regional war is somehow avoided? A major regional war can be avoided if Iran doesn't significantly retaliate against Israel. Though a possibility choreographed show might follow, Israel is humbled by Iran's outmatched retaliation, which the U.S. doesn't significantly help it defend against. Well, that seems unlikely. I mean, I feel like if there was a significant reaction by Iran, Israel would demand U.S. support and it would escalate even further. Or Iran absorbs Israel's second blow and doesn't retaliate. If the nuclear talks aren't resumed swiftly lead to a deal on the U.S. terms, then a cold peace might follow, characterized by intense hybrid warfare against Iran. Well, there's a lot of vagueness in terms of that last point if there is no deal, and it would be on the U.S. terms because if Iran does want to negotiate still, I mean, I don't know if the talks are happening on Sunday. Those talks were always fizzled. I mean, they were meeting 4 or 5 times, and they had said every time that they had met, the meeting time had gotten less and less and less. So it didn't seem like those talks were moving anywhere anyways, which is probably why this happened. I mean, Trump knew this was going to happen. You could even tell by what Trump was saying the days before. He said, you're just going to have to wait and see. And they were moving diplomats, they were moving troops, and they were setting it up. They knew that this was what was going to be happening. But they even say, like, ooh, Trump and Netanyahu set them up. Trump was even saying days before that something changed within Iran, and it was almost like a warning to them. And then you have the Israelis, to the point, counting down the seconds of Trump's 60-day threat. It was a 2-month threat to where there was the window to negotiate a nuclear deal. And I'm guessing Trump wanted Netanyahu to respect that, to make at least Trump have some dignity left. And they count down the seconds, and then on day 61, and Trump Truth Socialed this out, on day 61,